Have you ever tried to have a normal conversation with someone, like a calm, logical, adult conversation, and somehow it turns into an argument that you did not order? Today's topic is a special kind of chaos. You're not starting arguments, their ego is. You're literally just talking, but they're hearing a personal attack. It's not your tone, it's their triggers. So let's talk about why conversations turn into arguments, or more accurately, why you're using logic, but they're only hearing criticism. So they start defending their ego like it's on the endangered species list. Some people don't have conversations, they have defense mechanisms that speak louder than they do. You say one tiny thing, just one, and suddenly their ego sprints into the room like, absolutely not. We will not be taking responsibility today. Meanwhile, you're just trying to talk about what happened, and they're hearing, you're a terrible human being, and your ancestors are disappointed. All you're trying to do is solve a problem, but they're trying to survive the perceived attack. You think you're in a discussion, but they think they're in a courtroom with you as the prosecution, the judge, and the jury. And you're sitting there like, wait, how did we get here? I literally just said the tone fell off earlier. But their ego heard, you're a failure, your personality is defective, and you should go live alone in the woods. Some people genuinely cannot separate feedback from character assassination. You say, hey, that hurt my feelings, and they react like you've accused them of burning down the village and stealing the livestock. And the funniest part, they genuinely think you're the dramatic one. Let me give you an example. I once said, hey, can we talk about what happened earlier? And this man looked at me like I'd just handed him a letter that started with, Dear Sir, we regret to inform you. I could literally see his soul pack a suitcase. Because some people don't listen to understand, they listen to defend, to win, to protect the fragile little gremlin inside them that cannot handle being wrong. While you're just trying to discuss the issue, they're debating their right to exist. And that's why conversations go sideways. Because you're saying, here's what I meant. And they're hearing, here's why you're terrible. You're trying to say, let's fix this. And all they're hearing is, let me destroy your entire personality. You're saying this behaviour wasn't okay. And they're hearing, you're unlovable and should be exiled. It's exhausting. And then they hit you with the classics. Why are you attacking me? I didn't do anything wrong. You're overreacting. You always make me the bad guy. No, darling, you made yourself the bad guy the moment you turned the conversation into a gladiator match. Because here's the unfortunate truth. People with fragile egos don't argue to understand. They argue to protect the version of themselves they wish they were. They don't want clarity, they want comfort. They don't want accountability, they want reassurance. They don't want to hear you. They want to hear that they're right. And if you don't give them that, well, buckle up. Because suddenly you're the villain in a story you didn't even know you were in. And here's the part that most people don't realise. Defensiveness isn't always loud. It's not always shouting or storming off or giving a dramatic sigh. Sometimes it just looks like changing the subject or making a joke, going quiet, or acting confused when they really aren't. Sometimes it's turning it back on you and suddenly becoming the victim in a situation they created. And here's the kicker. Sometimes you do it too. We all do. Because defensiveness isn't about being a bad person. It's about feeling unsafe, even when no one's actually attacking you. So if you're watching this and thinking, okay, what if I am the defensive one sometimes? Congratulations. That means you're self-aware. You're already ahead of most people. And that's the whole point. It's not to blame. It's not to shame. This is just to understand what's actually happening underneath the reaction. And here's why it matters. Because you cannot build a healthy relationship with someone who treats every conversation like a threat. You can't grow with someone who thinks being wrong equals being worthless. And you can't communicate with someone whose ego is doing all the talking. Because when someone's ego is running the conversation, you're not talking to them. You're talking to their insecurity, their fear, the part of them that thinks accountability is humiliation. And you cannot reason with that. So what do? Well, you stop trying to communicate with someone who's committed to misunderstanding you. You stop explaining yourself to people who aren't listening. And you stop trying to have adult conversations with people whose egos are still in primary school. Because the right person, you can say, hey, that bothered me, and they won't crumble, they won't spiral, and they won't attack you. They'll go, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realise. Let's fix this. That's emotional maturity. That's communication. That's what a real conversation looks like. And if you're guilty, or if you know someone who's guilty of letting their shadow hijack the conversation, there's no shame. We've all done it, myself included. But if you actually want to change this, if you want to understand why your ego reacts the way it does, why your shadow jumps in before you do, and how to stop letting it run the whole conversation, I talk a lot about that in my book, about shadow behaviour, why it shows up, and how to work with it instead of fighting it. It's linked below and in my bio. Anyway, enough rambling from me, but before I go, just remember, you're not too sensitive, you're not too direct, you're not starting arguments. You're just trying to communicate with people who treat every conversation like a threat, and that's not on you. But this video is just my take, my experience, and I really want to hear yours too. So drop your thoughts in the comments and tell me, what's the wildest argument you've ever had that started from absolute nothing?